Breaking news from around your world on this Wednesday, May 15th, 2019. I'm Larry Rice. The U.S. on Wednesday ordered all non-essential government staff to leave Iraq, and Germany and the Netherlands both suspended their military assistance programs in the country in the latest sign of tension sweeping the Persian Gulf over still unspecified threats that the Trump administration says are linked to Iran. Iran's UK ambassador, Hamid Bayadinejad, said Tuesday that the Trump administration is playing a very dangerous game by ratcheting up sanctions and sending military assets to the Persian Gulf region. Bayadinejad's comments came after a New York Times report that the Pentagon has a plan for sending as many as 120,000 U.S. troops to the Middle East if Iran attacks U.S. forces in the region or accelerates work to build nuclear weapons. Last week, U.S. officials said they had detected signs of Iranian preparations for potential attacks on U.S. forces and interests in the Middle East, but Washington has not spelled out that threat, and an alert on the website of the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad said that all non-essential, non-emergency U.S. government staff were ordered to leave Iraq right away under State Department orders. Recent days have seen allegations of sabotage targeting oil tankers off the coast of the United Arab Emirates, a drone attack by Yemen's Iranian-allied Houthi rebels, and the dispatch of U.S. warships and bombers to the region. The Department of Transportation on Wednesday ordered the suspension of all commercial passenger and cargo flights between the United States and Venezuela, citing reports of unrest and violence around airports in the South American country. In a letter to the Transportation Department requesting the halt, the Department of Homeland Security said, "Conditions in Venezuela threaten the safety and security of passengers, aircraft, and crew traveling to or from that country." Venezuela's information ministry did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Many international airlines had stopped flying to Venezuela anyway because of security concerns and disputes over money they say the government owes them. American Airlines, previously the largest carrier providing service between the U.S. and Venezuela in March, said it was indefinitely suspending its flights to Venezuela. In April, the Federal Aviation Administration prohibited U.S. air operators from flying below 26,000 feet in Venezuela's airspace. 3 brothers who were sexually abused by a Minnesota Catholic priest filed a lawsuit against the Vatican on Tuesday, saying it shares the blame because its former U.S. ambassador mishandled the case. The lawsuit, filed by Luke, Stephen, and Benedict Hoffman, seeks to directly link the Vatican to the actions of their abuser, former priest Curtis Wiemeyer. Before the brothers were abused between 2009 and 2012, church officials had received complaints about inappropriate behavior by Wiemeyer. The former Archbishop of the Archdiocese of St. Paul in Minneapolis, John Needstead, and the former ambassador, Carlo Maria Vigano, have denied the allegations. The Vatican's U.S. lawyer, Jeffrey Lina, had previously called abuse lawsuits against the Vatican publicity stunts. Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin said on Wednesday he will likely travel to Beijing soon to continue negotiations with Chinese counterparts as the world's 2 biggest economies try to salvage talks aimed at ending their months-long trade war. Mnuchin did not elaborate on the timing of future negotiations, but told lawmakers at a Senate Appropriations Subcommittee hearing that recent discussions with Chinese officials in Washington were constructive. Mnuchin said, "We're continuing discussions. There's still a lot of work to do." President Trump has denied that trade talks with China had broken down, even as he imposed more tariffs on Chinese imports, and both sides prepared for another round of further tariffs, roiling global markets in recent days. But Trump softened his tone somewhat on Tuesday, praising his relationship with Chinese President Xi Jinping, appealing to Beijing to purchase U.S. farm products, and vowing to finalize a deal soon. Meanwhile, President Trump is expected to delay a decision on imposing tariffs on imported cars and parts by up to 6 months, avoiding opening yet another front in his global trade battles. Officials said a formal announcement is expected by Saturday, the due date for Trump to make a decision on recommendations by the Commerce Department to protect the U.S. auto industry from imports on national security grounds. They added that the administration has drafted language to formally delay a decision on the tariffs that is due by May 18th. A White House spokesman declined to comment. Reuters reported last week that automakers expected Trump to delay the decision as trade negotiations get underway with the European Union and Japan. The White House has held a series of high-level meetings on the issue in recent days, and administration officials have repeatedly told automakers they plan to delay the decision. General Motors, Volkswagen, Toyota, and others have warned of the damaging impacts of imposing tariffs of up to 25% on imported cars and parts. The National Labor Relations Board said in a memo released Tuesday that it had concluded that Uber's drivers were contractors rather than employees of the ride-hailing company. That decision marked a victory for Uber and a setback for drivers who have joined their counterparts at Uber's smaller rival Lyft in protests demanding better pay and working conditions. Contractors don't get the same federal protections the Labor Board enforces for full-fledged employees, such as the right to unionize. Industry experts estimate that if Uber and Lyft were forced to treat their drivers as employees, their labor costs would rise by up to 30%. Mexico City's environmental officials issued an emergency alert as nearly 24 fires worsened poor air quality in the region. The Environmental Commission of the megalopolis urged residents to avoid outdoor activities, and infants, the elderly, and those with respiratory illnesses were warned to stay indoors entirely. The city's air quality index increased from 144 to 158. The index includes 5 levels on a scale of 0 to more than 200. 0 to 50 is good, 50 to 100 is regular, 101 to 150 is bad, and 151 to 200 is very bad. More than 200, extremely bad. Firefighters are attempting to contain the wildfires, but to help reduce pollution in the city, officials asked residents to reduce emissions from vehicle use and notify authorities of any activities that could ignite more fires. Smoke from fires in Oaxaca and Guerrero is covering parts of Mexico from the east to the west coasts. The U.S. National Weather Service warns smoke in the southern Gulf of Mexico could eventually prove troublesome for the United States. Social giant Facebook will spend millions on research to develop ways to prevent users from utilizing the platform for nefarious purposes, like the gunman who broadcast an attack on 2 mosques in New Zealand this spring. Guy Rosen, Facebook Vice President of Integrity, said in a blog post the company will spend $7.5 million in new research to examine how to limit technology for those wishing to use it during criminal acts. The man who killed 50 people in Christchurch, New Zealand in March live-streamed the attack on Facebook Live. Some 1.5 million users tried to re-upload the footage before it was removed by Facebook. Rosen wrote Tuesday, "As a direct result, people who have broken certain rules on Facebook, including our dangerous organizations and individuals policy, will be restricted from using Facebook Live." Rosen said Facebook will now have a one-strike policy for users who violate Facebook Live rules. Violators will be barred from using the platform for set periods of time. A first offense, for example, brings a 30-day ban. Rosen added, "Our goal is to minimize the risk of abuse." A Japanese startup that launched a rocket into space earlier this month plans to provide low-cost rocket services and compete with American rivals such as SpaceX. Interstellar technology founder Takafumi Hori said a low-cost rocket business in Japan is well-positioned to accommodate scientific and commercial needs in Asia. While Japan's government-led space programs have demonstrated top-level technology, he said the country has fallen behind commercially due to high costs. Hori said his company's low-cost Momo 3 rocket is the way to create a competitive space business in Japan. The cost to launch the Momo 3 was about 1/10 of the launch cost of Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency, according to Interstellar. Hori said his company plans to launch its first orbital rocket, the Zero, within the next few years, and then it would technologically be on par with competitors such as Elon Musk's SpaceX, Amazon founder Jeff Bezos' Blue Origin, and New Zealand engineer Peter Beck's Rocket Lab. Tim Conway, a comedian who won 4 Emmy Awards for his sketches on Carol Burnett's TV variety show, died Tuesday in a Los Angeles care facility after an extended illness. He was 85. Conway joined the Carol Burnett show in 1975 after making frequent appearances as a guest. He created a host of characters and was known for making co-stars Burnett and Harvey Korman crack up on camera. He said, "We really didn't attack people or politics or religion or whatever. We just made fun of, basically, ourselves." Conway also appeared in the TV show McHale's Navy as Ensign Parker and voiced the character Barnacle Boy on SpongeBob SquarePants. He won Emmys for guest appearances on the sitcom Coach in 1996 and 30 Rock in 2008. His films included The Apple Dumpling Gang in 1975, The Shaggy DA in 1976, and Cannonball Run 2. And that's your update for this Wednesday, May 15th, 2019. I'm Larry Rice. Thanks so much for listening, and I hope you have a wonderful day.